If you're a heating and air conditioning technician or even a salesperson, is there such a thing as loneliness in sales? And if so, why does it matter? And how does it help you and hurt you? This is an important question. I'm Scott Sylvan Bell, coming to you live for HVAC Technician Sales Secrets on a perfect day to talk about sales and a perfect day to talk about you. Today's topic that we're going to discuss is loneliness in sales. And yes, it happens. And the thing in the business industry is like everybody wants to talk about the good. It's like, yay, let's talk about new clients. Yay, let's talk about that, we closed the deal. But what they're like is boo, boo, don't ever say anything negative, because if you do, you're being a negative person. And I'm like, look, if there's a yin, there's a yang. If there's a positive, there's a negative. And sometimes it's very important to have these conversations. Sometimes new people get hired in sales and they have no idea the emotional gamut they're going to go through. Sometimes people who've been in sales for a long time hit a sales slump and they forget. They're like, oh my goodness, I forgot what this is like. So today we're going to go down the path of five things you need to know. Five things you need to know about loneliness in sales. And number one, let's start with this. It's taboo to talk about it. And my question is, why not talk about it? Why not have this conversation? Why not go, look, I'm going to recognize it's an issue. I'm going to do what I can to fix it. I'm not a doctor, therapist, lawyer, attorney, or a marriage counselor, or an accountant. So if you need qualified help, please get qualified help. And so the weird thing is we're able to talk about wins, and we're able to dance around an office and ring a bell and jump up and down and, pick things out of a prize hat, but we're not able to talk about like, hey, like at the end of the day, I'm struggling. At the end of the day, I've got problems. I lost a big deal a week ago. Big deal. Right? And I was like up here. I was like, yeah, deal. No. Whoa. Who feels like this when everything just gets pulled out from underneath you? There's definitely a loneliness to it. Number two, it's healthy to have these conversations. It's healthy to talk to your accountability buddy. It's healthy to talk to your therapist. It's healthy to get these things off your chest. And like, for whatever reason, nope, don't talk about them. Can't talk about them. Let's go talk about closing. I got the Jones job over here. Okay. And so like what you have to realize is when we're talking about healthy, there's people that you can talk to about this, and then there's people you can't. Some of the people that you might want to talk to about this will do everything they can to drive you into the ground. There is a person in my life that did this to me after a bad breakup. And this person did everything they could to destroy me. I thought they were a friend. They weren't. So it's healthy to talk to it with the right people. And this is why you should join HVACTechSecrets.com. I'll give you the goods. Not in the Facebook group, not in the YouTube channel. Number three, sometimes we create it. All right. So I'm going to give you my example. Hi, I'm Scott. I give you personal examples about my life. Hope it helps you. I was on the precipice, the entry, I was at the beginning of a big deal. Right? Beginning of like, let me give this check. It's going to be fantastic. It was like a beginning of a brand new relationship. And at the last second, the client pulled back and said, we're not going to do this. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I'm like all the way up here. I'm telling all these people, almost close to getting this deal, almost getting it done. And then the rug gets pulled out from underneath me. So now I've got to deal with, I had dopamine. Now I don't. Now I'm like, oh, what do? I don't want to look bad in front of people. I lost the deal. I don't want to have to tell people that deal didn't go through. I don't want to have people ask me questions like, well, you trained salespeople, but you didn't get this deal. What happened? Like, okay. So then there's like, I'm going to pull back from society. Now that I pull back from society, now I'm like, where are all my friends? Oh, I'm not hanging out with my friends because I'm scared to tell them about all the negative things that are going on in my life. And so sometimes you don't want to admit that you've lost deals. You're like, I didn't close that deal. Like, and then you start questioning about yourself. What's wrong with me? Do I got fat cheeks? Are my eyes funky? Is my hair wrong? And, do I got a giant belly? What's wrong with me? So we go through this whole list. I do, right? You could say you don't. I do. I go through these things. Number four, sometimes seeing other people win and you're like, I know I'm better at closing deals than that person. I know I'm better at being better than that person. And we constantly compare ourselves. And, I've heard the saying that comparison is a tool of the devil, but it's one thing that we take a look at. That thing's taller than that one. That thing's wider than that one. This one costs more. This one costs less. We compare things all day long. So we're constantly comparing ourselves against people that we look at as competition, whether in our company, outside of our company, or outside of our industry. Sometimes I'll go places and I'm like, shit, I could do that. That dude made $1 million in a month doing what? What? No freaking way. I could do that too. And then there's the feelings of inadequacy, because like sometimes we create it, and then sometimes we're like, where's that feeling of inadequacy coming from? What happened? How come I just couldn't get that deal? And sometimes you got to go and say, hey, look, what am I doing or not doing that's causing me problems? Remember in the beginning, I told you this was the taboo topic, and I would go tell you problems that I'm facing in my own personal life because I'm not perfect. I don't pretend to be. And then I want to warn you, like number 5, sometimes you can get to the top and there's nobody there to celebrate with you. So we've talked about like the bad about losing deals, not being there, comparing yourself, but occasionally there's a point where you're like, I'm all by myself, right? I'm a single man. I'll be 47 this year, coming up in like 50 days. And there's times where I'm like, I'm a single dude. I got to go celebrate this on my own. I'm going to go have a really good steak dinner with a really thick cut of steak, and then have lots of fat, because lots of fat on a good cut steak is really good. But it would be nice sometimes to celebrate it with somebody. And so like, I'll tell you, I go through this. There's things that like, hey, I would love to celebrate this. Like sometimes people are like, hey, Scott, I'm married. I'm like, well, hey, at least you got somebody to celebrate with. Hey, Scott, I've got a girlfriend or boyfriend. Hey, at least you got somebody to celebrate with. I can celebrate with my bird. So like sometimes, you could get to the top and there's nobody there to celebrate with you, or you may be in a relationship and the other person doesn't care. So there's multiple aspects to this. And I'm not like, hey, poor me, right? I'm just giving you real life examples from the notes that I have before I started shooting this video. Because if I'm going to have these conversations, I'm going to go to the depths of saying, here's things that I see, here's things that I've lived through, here's things that you're going to be up against. So in this, I've given you five, right? 5 things. But like, it's really like those 5 things. Don't say them, Scott. Don't say them, but I'm going to give you a bonus. If you need help, if you're struggling, reach out to somebody who's qualified. I mean, there's a point where we all have our problems. We all have our issues. And then there's a point where it's like, I'm overwhelmed. I'm drowning. I'm having all these problems. For real, seek qualified help. There's phone numbers. There's email addresses. If you don't have the money, reach out to a church member, a family member, a friend, somebody that you trust. Call that 800 number. Get some help, because there is a point where it's beyond the scope of what is typical for sales, and people really do struggle. You got one of 2 things to do from here, just one of 2. Find the subscribe button, click on it. Every time I send out a video, you'll get an update. This is HVAC Technician Sales Secrets. Send another fantastic video. You should check it out, which you should.